How are we all this evening? Good? Okay, so this is my icebreaker. When I talk about my icebreaker, I'd like to explain a very important quote that I hold dear to my heart. And it's, "Be ye not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Now, one of the very first times I heard this, I was listening to a very great motivator that I absolutely love. His name's Les Brown. If you haven't heard him, I really suggest you give him a go. Really will get those heartstrings going. It was the phrase though, "Be ye not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind," which actually solidified everything I knew about the world, everything I knew about the universe, everything I knew about the laws of attraction and the mindset. And to think that in a religious text written thousands and thousands of years ago, it talks about shifting your world by shifting your mind. It talks about not living in a world where not shifting yourself and conforming to the world around you, but changing your world by shifting your thought process. And one of the most amazing ways that I could possibly represent this is the caterpillar. Now, as you know, the caterpillar will grow on a tree and eat leaves. Now think about the caterpillar for a moment and what it actually does. It eats and it builds up enough energy to close itself off from the world. And when it comes out, it's not the same. It is a completely different creature. And that's what I see shifting your mind to be. Think about that for a moment. A caterpillar goes in as a caterpillar. But when that caterpillar comes out of that shell, it is a completely different creature. It flies, it's graceful, it's colourful, it's beautiful. Its world is different. Its complete world has changed. The way it moves is different. Where it can go is different. Now, if you think about a caterpillar and you think about yourself as a person, we do not want to change. Change means shifting certain characteristics about ourselves, but the same person is still visible. We don't want to change. We want to transform, completely change form and become a different person. What does that mean? Transform. Completely shifting into a new existence, completely reimagining, rebirthing ourselves, becoming a completely different person where we're unrecognizable, where our past failures and our past fears and everything that every negative emotion that we have that connects us to a person where we feel that there's an inconsistency or we're not good enough. We shift, we become a completely different person. Now, if you look at the way a caterpillar does it, what does a caterpillar do? It encapsulates itself in a cocoon. And that's what you need to do. In order for that caterpillar to become a butterfly, it has to actually isolate itself. And that's what we need to do. In order for us to transform, we need to choose to stay away from those people. Choose to take yourself out of an environment where people put you down. Choose to take yourself out of an environment where people are taking drugs. Choose to take yourself out of an environment where people make fun of you at your expense. That don't think you're good enough. That don't think you're smart enough. That don't think you can do it because they can't see it for themselves. I don't care whether that person's your mother, your brother, your sister, your best friend, your uncle, whoever those people are, those negative people. In order for you to transform, you need to take yourself out of that environment. You need to completely shift yourself, put yourself in a new environment. That means ignoring those people. And then becoming your own best friend, becoming your own personal cheerleader. When you encapsulate yourself, when you isolate yourself, that's when you start growing. That's when you start educating yourself. That's when you start learning as much as you can. That's when you start working on yourself and work harder than you've ever worked in your life. Until you completely shift who you are as a person. And in order for you to transform, the most important thing above all is do not put yourself in that same situation. Do not put yourself in that same environment. Don't you dare go back to that environment. Don't you dare put yourself in front of those people. You are better than that. You can do more with your life than you could possibly imagine. You have unfathomable potential within you. Remember, at the end of the day, it's who you choose to define yourself as in this moment that counts. It doesn't matter who you've been up until this point. If you choose to define yourself as a winner from this day forward, if you choose to define yourself as a person from this day forward that you can do anything with your life, then that's the person you can be. It can be the complete opposite. You could take a person who's completely amazingly successful, does everything they can in their life, has created amazing things in their life. And then one day they go and lose it all on the stock market. And they're standing there at the front of the bridge, most extremely successful people, extremely wealthy, great family, everything. But in that moment, if he chooses to define himself as a loser, if he chooses to define himself as a failure, if that person chooses to take action on those thoughts, who he chooses to define himself in that moment is the most important thing, because that's what made him jump. It doesn't matter what he was like up until that point. But if a person can choose to define himself in the moment to be the sort of person that could jump after creating all that success, after doing that with their life, it can be the complete opposite. You can choose to define yourself in a moment where you are ultimately powerful, where you're universally powerful, where you can do anything you want with your life, where you can take it anywhere. Where you can take life by the balls and do whatever you want to do with it. You can do that. You have that power in you. And anyone who thinks you don't, you just get away from them. You stay away from them. Don't talk to them. Don't listen to them. Be ye not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Let that phrase sit with you forever.